So, hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another community chats. I'm Sandra Arevalo, once again with you. I'm the Director of Community Health and Wellness at Montefiore Nyack. And today we're going to be talking about a very important topic because this is something that we don't talk every day. I don't know if it's because we're playing blind or we think that we don't see, or sometimes maybe we don't think it's important, right? But disabilities is definitely out there and it's prevalent in our community. There are many, many people with disabilities, and we don't often know what they go through and what their families go through to basically be able to provide services to them. So today, with them in mind and their families in mind, we have invited Jackie. Oh, Jackie, I think that I know how to say your last name. It's Lago, right?
Slagle.
Is legal. Okay, thank you. I didn't think of that. Okay, but thank you so much for
Mhm.
being here. She's gonna tell us a little bit about her agency, where she comes from, and obviously, her important job and how she helps all these families in the community of Rockland. So welcome, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me here. I'm very happy to be presenting and sharing some information regarding our agency and what we do and how we help those in the community. Um, and our agency capabilities partnership, we offer a variety of services to individuals, families who have disabilities, developmental disabilities, traumatic brain injury, epilepsy, and a variety of programs that we offer, such as a day program. We have employment services, vocational, for individuals who are looking to find a job or start working and get in the workforce. We also provide support groups online, in person, for those who have epilepsy. And we also provide assistance in applying to OPWDD, as well as a food pantry for those that we serve in the community to access. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how you can navigate the OPWDD system and applying. So I'm excited to
Beautiful. Thank
be
you so
talking.
much. Jackie, if you have a PowerPoint, feel free to upload it. In the meantime, I'm gonna invite our attendees,
Okay.
to write any questions that you have in the chat, in the Q&A, and we're gonna be happy to answer those questions at the end of Jackie's presentation. So go ahead, Jackie.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm just going to share my screen to my PowerPoint. All right. So today I'm going to be talking about OPWDD eligibility and applying and just navigating that whole process for families and individuals who are looking for services for OPWDD. So a little bit about our company, our agency capabilities. Our mission is to provide comprehensive services to people with epilepsy and other neurological, physical, developmental disabilities, to their families, and promote independence and a better quality of life. We provide a variety of services and programs, focus on activities, and help the individual live, again, independently through their community and with dignity. So the OPWDD Navigator Program is a collaboration geared towards assisting individuals and families to navigate OPWDD process. So what is OPWDD? OPWDD provides access to supports and services for people with developmental disabilities and their families. It's a Medicaid-funded program. It's long-term care services. They provide clinical services, residential supports, and a lot of community services as well. New York State is funded this program, and it's really designed to just help families provide care for their loved ones. Okay. So our agency capabilities and the Epilepsy Society have proudly provided various programs and services under OPWDD since we've opened in 1977. And the agency has about 30 years, 30 plus years of OPWDD services. We also have access to Choices, which is an OPWDD platform online where we would upload certain documents, and then OPWDD would have direct access to that as well. And that's kind of how we communicate with staff there as well. So our goal is to assist families and individuals throughout this process. It can be very overwhelming, especially, if they're just not sure where to start. They have no idea, where to begin. We're here to help guide them through that. It can be very complex and there's a lot of steps through everything. So we're just here to guide the families through each step in that application process. So our team is myself, Jackie Slagle, and I am the manager and navigator of the OPWD program. And then we have George Vasquez. He is the community coordinator and also OPWD navigator. George is also Spanish speaking, so if we have any families that are Spanish speaking, he'll be able to directly help with them as well. This is our contact information, and I'm also going to write it down into the chat for anybody to see as well. So if you want to take a minute to write that down, and then you can give us a call for any referrals or just to begin the process, or you're interested and need some more information, you could always reach out to us through phone. And the receptionist will guide that call to the necessary department and we'll take it from there. So the Navigator program. So the initial steps of the Navigator will conduct an intake with the individual and the family to assess what's needed, and then we'll just provide an overview of what steps to take next and what to expect throughout this process. So determining eligibility. In order to be eligible for OPWDD services, New York State mental hygiene law requires the presence of a developmental disability. It has to be under these certain conditions, such as autism, cerebral palsy, neurological impairment, or other attributable things that would result in a disability. This disability does have to be occurred before the child reaches the age of 22. Afterwards, if somebody is diagnosed with something, they would not be eligible to apply for OPWDD if they were diagnosed with anything after the age of 22. So this disability would have to expect to continue throughout the lifetime of that individual. The disability does have to cause a substantial handicap to the person's ability to function in society. So some additional steps in our program is that we'll help the family fill out the paperwork. So the first thing is called a transmittal form, and this is the first step in applying for OPWDD. So we would assist them in that form, and then we would assist in gathering all the necessary documents. There's quite a few documents that are required, and if they maybe need help acquiring those documents, we could assist in making appointments or referrals to certain doctors to gather that paperwork if they haven't had any evaluations or anything already. So we always encourage people to make, as many copies of that paperwork too, just so they can have it on their end, and we have copy this way, we're not getting anything mixed up. So I'll go over a little bit of the documentation that is required. One thing that is required is a psychological report, and this would have to be done within the last 3 years. Once it's over 3 years, they would have to have another one done. So we would like to, make sure that it's done within that time frame. An assessment or an adaptive behavior, which would also go along with the psychological report, again, within the last 3 years, and IQ testing. Generally, that's all in one report. And some other things that are required is the social history or a psychosocial report. And this would show and explain the child's life up until they were 22 and throughout their daily habits and what they are capable of, and some things that are challenges to them. Another thing that is recommended but not required is a child's current IEP if they are in school. It's a little bit helpful just to have more documentation, even though they're not necessarily asking for that. It just further proves that this person is, in fact, in need of these services. So they also require a medical or specialty report from the doctor that would show the diagnosis and explain, the symptoms that occur and what has happened over time. And then we would also need a current physical evaluation from the doctors, and that would have to be done within the last 1 year. So the process for determining eligibility. It's comprised in several different steps, and we have found that navigating this process can be a little bit challenging, especially if families don't know where to start or they have no information. So that's kind of where we step in and we'll guide you through that entire process. So once OPWDD has received all of that paperwork and documentation, they would send it to a first step review. They'll review all of that paperwork, and within about 6 to 12 weeks, the family would get an answer whether the child is eligible to apply for services or denied, or they might request additional documentation. If they are requesting additional documentation, then it would move to a second step review. And then a different set of doctors would then look at that paperwork separate than the first step. And then they would come out with an answer, if they're eligible or not. All families will also receive a letter in the mail as well. So what happens if a child or individual becomes denied for OPWDD services? They would receive a denial letter, but they also have the right to appeal that decision and request a third step review. That can also be done in an in-person interview as well. So provisional eligibility is eligibility for services from birth to the age of 7. They might grant provisional eligibility when a child is presenting with developmental delays. However, once the child does reach the age of 8, they will have to reapply. And then once they reapply at that age and they become eligible, they will be eligible for the rest of their life. So OPWDD and Medicaid. In most cases, it's appropriate to apply for Medicaid because Medicaid does fund the majority of services and programs that are under OPWDD. So we can certainly assist with this process as well. So once the person becomes eligible for OPWDD, then we would provide an application to Medicaid and walk them through that entire process, as well as gathering certain documents that Medicaid and DSS would need. So who is eligible for Medicaid? So individuals with developmental disabilities who are under the age of 18 and live at home with their families may be eligible, as well as if they are living on their own. The family income and resources aren't necessarily looked at when applying for the Medicaid. However, in some cases, individuals with disabilities 18 years or older, they might have to have their income and resources checked into. There's a certain amount for certain programs, and if their income is a little bit too high at this point, we would suggest options such as a spend down or even a Medicaid pool trust that would allow them to still access Medicaid and receive that, but it just might cost a little bit at that point. So the front door, the OPWDD navigator will then provide information and resources to the family through the front door. This is a way for OPWDD to just connect with individuals and information and services that they need. It shows a variety of options and things that they offer. This way, families who are maybe not too sure, they don't have much information, are able to learn and, connect with others and just kind of grow their knowledge about OPWDD and everything that they do have to offer. So some additional services, we have a lot of services at our agency, again, and we're here to, just be out in the community and provide information to schools and everything else, just so we can connect with others in the community and really provide that information and knowledge. So thank you again. And if you are interested in this program, you could reach us at our website or give us a call.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for that information.
Yes.
We have a question here. It says, where can adults with suspected autism spectrum disorder be tested?
There's a variety of different facilities and doctors and agencies that do that testing. We can certainly connect families with those agencies. And we don't do it at our agency, however, but I can type up a list and put it in the chat if that's helpful.
Yeah, or something else that we can do is you can send it to me
Okay,
And then when I send the recording to the link, I can add that or add the list to the
great,
email.
great.
Yes, we can do
Yeah.
that. Okay, and they say thank you so much for the
Thank you.
response. And another question is, sometimes families are scared of getting their children diagnosed.
Mhm.
Of course, there is some stigma around it, and they feel that they might lose some benefits, I guess, or some possibilities in the future. What do you know about that?
That's really interesting. I don't know. I would say that even though it might be frightening to get that diagnosis, it might also be something to really reconsider because it is very important, in the long run because the services would um really benefit that person. However, if that is something that they are not willing to, or maybe just too afraid to take that step, um, there are some agencies that do provide support for that, and we could certainly provide that information. And even our agency, we provide family support, so we could certainly still assist that family and connect them to certain services or things that might be helpful to them, even though they don't have that diagnosis.
What about undocumented families? If they have
Mhm.
children that have disabilities, can they still access the services?
So this is actually a question that's been coming up a lot lately.
Mm.
Unfortunately, they would not be able to. In the past, I think there might have been ways to go around that a little bit and still achieve some services. So we're trying to provide as much support to those families as well. Through our family support program, and other agencies as well they can access family support services, but they would not be able to apply for OPWDD.
Okay. If the children are born here, does the history change or is the same?
Um, if they're a citizen, if they are born here and they are a citizen, then they would qualify. Yes, they would
Okay,
be able to.
okay, got
Um, yeah.
it. Is there like an age limit for diagnosis?
I don't believe there's an age limit for a diagnosis. However, uh, in order to apply for OPWDD, they want, well, so okay, let me clarify it this way. There is an age limit for OPWDD. You have to be diagnosed before the age of 22.
Mm.
Um, and you know, then you would be eligible for OPWD. If you did get a diagnosis, like essentially there's no age limit to get diagnosed with anything, but if you're older than 22, you wouldn't be able to apply, yes.
Mhm. Okay.
And that's one thing to keep in mind too, when applying for OPWDD, they're going to look for that proof. So
Mhm, mhm. And I guess it also, the younger you get diagnosed and you get services, uh, the better outcome you're going to have, right? Because you're going to be attending therapies and doing all of these that is going to help you later in life. While if you're diagnosed later, you might have missed some opportunities there. What do you think?
absolutely. Yes, I completely agree. Yeah.
Okay.
There's early intervention services too that, are very helpful for younger ages to just get started with services.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So it's always it's always good to get tested, even if you're a little bit afraid or something, because, the sooner you catch something and intervene, the better outcome you're going to have.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, this has been very, very helpful, Jackie. So thank you so much.
Thank
As
you.
you know, if you're attending our webinars today in community chats, we're going to be posting all this information in YouTube. So, and looking forward to have that list also so that I can send it out as well.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
going to send over all of my recommendations for, agencies and everything else that might be able to assist with those questions.
very
So
good. Thank you
thank you.
so much. And thank you to our attendees for being here and for sharing this time with us. And, you keep us going. So thank you for being here. And thank you, Jackie, for your intervention. This is really good. Thank you for all the work that you do. That's really great that you're
Yeah.
helping families. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Great.
next week, we're going to have My Health, My Care. it's going to be talking about mental health and physical health and how we need to take care of ourselves as well. So it's, we're always thinking about how to take care of others, but sometimes we need to take care of our own lives and bodies. So next week, all about ourselves. So it's about you. Don't miss it. Okay. See you
Absolutely.
next week, 12 o'clock. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.